Welcome to Leading Real Life, a podcast that is attempting super hard to help you to step into your role as leader in your own life and in your home. I'm Rob, this is Shannon, and actually today is a bonus episode.
Yep.
Right? And I say that happy, but like it's not a happy bonus episode.
It's not.
It's our fourth episode in, and we're already doing a bonus episode, but it's because we feel like we need to be able to talk about life as it happens as well.
Yeah.
And if this were to be, a month or two down the road, that's just way too late.
Yeah.
But being events as they have been over the past little while, we just sat down to try and do a podcast on children and entitlement.
Yeah.
And couldn't do it.
No, it was too hard.
Yeah.
It's too hard.
So what we wanted to do was get on here and talk about what happens when the world's crumbling. I mean, that's what it feels like, right?
It really, really does.
And so I'm going to just get right into it. I don't want to waste time. This doesn't need to be a super long podcast. But I think that the way we are feeling is probably reflected in how other people are feeling as well. So I'm going to ask you straight off the bat, how are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm not doing great.
Yeah.
It's been a really weird couple days. Well, let's be honest, it's been a weird couple years.
Mm-hmm. But definitely.
And it's, really heightened by what's happened in Ukraine in the last couple days here. So, you woke up yesterday morning, so Thursday.
Yep.
Today is Friday that we're recording this.
Yep.
And told me that Russia had invaded Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
And so then we get up, put the news on, see what's going on, and it just feels completely surreal to me. Like it's hard to even understand what that means because here we aren't physically affected by it.
That's right.
But we watch the news and it's horrifying. Like they attacked them completely unprovoked.
Yeah.
And it just makes you go, like, how can anybody do that?
Yeah.
Like, why is power so important to this man that he will just attack a country with all these bogus reasons?
I know.
And it makes you mad and it makes you sad. And, initially I was just numb because it just didn't feel real. And now a day later, I am starting to, read stories from parents or people or like listening to the president of Ukraine tell their entire country, doesn't matter
how old you are. Pick up a gun. Like what? I know. It's desperation.
Yeah.
I know.
It's
insane.
crazy. And I don't know how to deal with it.
No, it almost feels to me on the same level as World Trade Center.
Right.
Like that same kind of impact almost.
Yeah, totally.
But it's honestly like we've just been piled on, like the world, the collective, the whole world.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, we are in an entitled place.
Yeah.
Where we are blessed. But that doesn't mean we don't feel weight.
Exactly.
But it's been like COVID. We're finishing up 2 years, and honestly, journalists just keep liking to tell us every single variant that comes out and the possibility that it's the next bubonic plague.
Oh my gosh.
We've had that for 2 years, and as parents, it's just been, and in our work, it's been back and forth and up and down, and like...
It's like whiplash constantly.
100%. Then we have the convoy where we live, the Freedom Truckers who came in and disturbed.
Yeah.
And like, we don't even need to get into whose side anybody's on that. But I just would say that if you want to protest something that's really, really valuable, go to the Ukraine maybe and protest war over there.
Right.
And then we have the racism that we've seen.
Yeah.
George Floyd, and all the Black Lives Matter movement, like what they're fighting for, and the response to it, and the hatred in this world, and we have inflation like crazy, right? And then put on top of that, waking up and just like Putin decides he needs Ukraine.
Yeah, it's just a lot. And so many of these issues are so polarizing. Like,
I know.
all of it. None of it is just sort of like,
Yeah.
You have to have an opinion on all of it because all of it is really, really important.
But the problem to me is that only the very far edges have the opinions that are heard.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think we'll probably talk about that a bit. I want to stick in the how you're feeling thing.
Right.
I want to stay with sort of your mental health.
Yeah.
Right? Like, what has this weight done? And I don't think it was just impacted by the Ukraine.
It's like the straw that broke the camel's back.
And I didn't mean to call it the Ukraine. It's Ukraine, but
yeah.
So of course, right? Like,
it's just, I don't know. It's been so much over the past couple years, and it compounds and it weighs on you, and it makes you so tired emotionally that it's hard to care about all these other things.
Right?
It's like, in the grand scheme of things, does this even matter? Because we've got war happening right now.
Yeah.
Literal war.
It's true.
Where people are fleeing.
I know.
Bombs are, like, we saw a tank drive over a man in a car.
Yeah,
on the news.
an old man. They just drove over his car, and he lived.
For what reason?
Thank God, but
he's just driving.
Well, I don't know their reasoning, but their reasoning for even being there is messed up. But what about the mom?
Yeah, so I read a story about a mom who was just trying to get her son ready for the day. And she said he was so scared he threw up. Because
Think of his mental health.
Yeah. And so then I think of our kids.
I know.
Right? And as a mom, I go, oh my goodness, how would we even handle that?
I know.
Because
trying to give your child hope and
right,
thoughts of a future.
And not scare them to be completely honest, I feel scared.
Yeah.
And you don't want to put that onto your kids. You want to try and, keep a brave face for them.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you can't shelter them from all of this. This is major.
Yeah.
This is major.
No, yeah, it is major.
Yeah, and so Sam, he's always been kind of, I don't know how or why, but he seems to try and stay current.
Good for him.
As a child, which sounds funny, but I remember a couple years ago when there was some talk of World War III between the U.S. and China, and I know Trump was doing something.
It was right before
stupid.
COVID.
Yeah, he was doing something dumb, and I remember him and his buddies were talking about it at school. And so he comes home, he's like, "I heard that it's going to be World War III," and we're like, "What? No."
Yeah.
But now it feels a little bit more realistic.
Kind of does. And I don't want to be, the pessimist.
No, but let's be honest.
It feels more significant than many things we've experienced. Like, we've seen war in the Middle East, and war is always significant, and lost lives are always a bad thing.
Yeah.
But there's something more global about this one.
Well, yeah, because Putin's threatening the whole world, essentially. If you do anything, and we know he's got nukes, so it just feels like really, really big.
Yeah, and the buddy with China stuff is
exactly.
a little...
So it's like a lot to try and process and to try and figure out how to walk our kids through this without scaring them. And obviously, you don't give them all the information. Maybe you don't watch the news constantly in front of them.
Yeah.
But I find myself personally drawn to the news because I really want to know what's going on.
Of course.
But then it affects me.
Of course.
Right? And then I'm feeling
anxious
and upset and worried and angry and just all of the emotions. And it's like...
Yeah, and I think a key to that is knowing when we have to pull ourselves out. There's one thing to gain information, and there's another thing to swim in it.
Right.
Yeah. I
so
only
true.
need so much knowledge of what's happening.
Yeah.
In Ukraine.
Yeah.
My prayers go out to Ukraine.
Yeah.
And I care deeply. Not watching every second doesn't mean I don't care.
Yeah.
That's something you have to know.
Yeah.
If you need to pull yourself out for the sake of your own mental health and the sake of your family, and you need to just stop watching the news, do it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because we still are in a free place, and yes, we are privileged. Highly.
Yeah.
But the answer to our privilege in Canada is not to stop living.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
We do have to do what's best for our families and for our kids because we want to raise up kids that are healthy and can handle these kind of situations. So yes, I mean, like, kind of pull yourself out and know when you need to deal with that.
Yeah. How about for you? How is it affecting your mental health?
For my mental health, it is a roller coaster because to me, Ukraine was impactful immediately.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't a numb situation.
Yeah.
It was like, wow, this is big. Like, I felt that weight of it right off the bat. It wasn't like I had to sit and ponder it. It was like, Russia is doing something here. So it was really big. I, as a pastor, really felt the weight of the convoy.
Yeah.
Because people want me to have opinions on it. And honestly, people spiritualized it. And while everything we do is spiritual, I personally don't agree with the convoy.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean I think that anybody in the convoy is an idiot. And I actually think there's aspects that I can understand. Like, you don't want to get something put in your body, and that should be your right to not have that done. Yeah. It's kind of where I draw the line, though. Yeah. I don't really think that the mask mandate or any of that is like ultra. But I also don't want to go off on a thing on my thoughts on the convoy. Right. Needless to say, people want me to have an opinion on it, but they want me to have their opinion on it. Right. Yep. Right? Yep. And if I don't have their opinion on it, I am probably not following the Lord or I'm a fool. Right. And I just honestly am stuck in the middle of both sides. And it's just, that's a tough place to be. So the convoy really wore me down. Yeah. But I think COVID was doing that already. Oh, yeah. Then you throw in inflation, and I care deeply for what's going on for Black lives, for Indigenous lives. I care deeply for women and what's happening with them. It's hard to care all the time. Yes. So then when you have these weights, I feel like there's a game being played where we're just putting weight on until we see when it breaks. Yeah. I don't know what the game's called. Right. But it's almost like we're just trying to fill it with water and let's just see how big it'll get until it bursts. Yeah. And it feels like it's about to burst. Yeah. So emotionally, mental health wise, I'm just up and down. I take my moments of productivity and joy and I try to just, right? Yeah. And then all of a sudden it'll make me exhausted. Yeah. Oh, totally. Right? Totally. So it's just so up and down. Yeah. I'll have a moment. Like, I'll feel okay for a little while, and then all of a sudden I'm just, like, honestly, today, I just, listening to some of the stories on the news, seeing that person. Yeah, that was really hard. That was really hard. I feel for that mom. I had to just go up and cry for a bit because it's just too much. So, I mean, that touches in how it affects your day to day, right? Like, yeah. But, like, overall, how has this season, it's honestly like a 2-year season, how is it affecting your day to day? Is it increasingly hard? Is it like it has been hard, but you didn't admit it? Yeah. And now it's like, it's piled on? Like, well, yeah, I think that, and I don't think I'm the only one, but I think that it has been something we haven't processed from the beginning. Like from the start of COVID to now, it's been just survival, right? We're just getting through it, trying to put on a brave face for our kids, trying to act as if everything is fine, right? Meanwhile, we're not processing what we're going through and the exhaustion that we're feeling. Yes. And it's like, yeah, it's like a weight. It's like, here, carry this. Oh, now carry this. Now carry this. But also carry this. Yeah. And run to the end of the finish line. Yeah. Yeah. Don't drop any of it. Yeah. You know? Yeah. And so it's like, how long can you actually do that for before you do break? I know. It's true. And so then,
sometimes forget that this has been our existence for the past 2 years. And I feel like I should just be normal, like everything's okay, right? Because at some point this has become our normal, right? And so why am I still struggling to focus on things that we're trying to accomplish? Or why am I still struggling to find the time to prioritize?
Because you haven't been able to reflect on it. You haven't been able to.
And so then I start feeling guilty. I start feeling bad, like I've been failing constantly for the past 2 years, when it's like, in reality, we have been going through a global catastrophe that hasn't stopped, and it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true. It is. It's unbelievably hard.
Yeah.
It's unbelievably hard. I think for me, I try to throw myself into many things. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's a distraction.
Yeah.
But that adds to burnout and like all of it. So instead of just taking the weight of everything that's there plus my responsibilities, I might throw more weight on top of that. And then I tell myself to run to the finish line.
It's distraction, right? We're trying to not think about the things, but really we should.
Yeah.
We should take. And that's why I think even just sitting down and talking about this today is good, because we can get it out.
Yeah, I agree. Because I think that some of the stuff that we talk about is like the beginning of burnout.
Yeah.
It's the beginning of becoming depressed. Like it's the beginning of a possible spiral to a place that you don't want to go.
Yeah.
So talking about it, and then like what I want to do is talk about what we can sort of do to overcome.
Yeah.
So what are some things that you think, you could do to help you overcome?
Right. Oh, long term, I'm not entirely sure. I kind of operate on a day-to-day basis, but
you are a 9.
One thing that I found is recognizing the things that kind of set me off. Mm-hmm. So, for example, when the convoy was rolling through, Facebook was not a good place for me to be.
Yeah. People were mean there.
Oh, people are awful there. Mm-hmm. And it set me off. Mm-hmm. And I just finally had to like take it off. I didn't delete it from my phone, but I removed it so that I couldn't see it, and turned off notifications.
Interesting.
So I'd only allow myself to check it a couple times a day, because I wanted to be able to see my memories, because those bring me joy.
Yeah, right. But you don't want to go get joy and then be demolished.
Exactly.
Right
so I let myself scroll for a minute or two, but I tried really hard not to get into any rabbit holes, because it just makes me spiral, and it just makes me irrational. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So like recognizing when it's negatively impacting you.
Yeah. And then honestly, sometimes you just have to like find something that makes you smile or laugh. Yeah. Like watch something funny.
Winnie the Pooh's voice.
Yeah. Watch a heartwarming video. Think about Disney.
Right.
I've thought about Disney a lot more lately.
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's a good thing to think about. It's not bad to think about good things.
Yeah, exactly. And,
those are super helpful.
Yeah, and I have to remember that, it can seem like frivolous when all of this stuff is happening in the world. Mm-hmm. It can seem like, why are you, caring about that? But it's just... You can only sit in the heavy stuff for so long, or it'll just tear you apart.
Totally.
And you have to remove yourself and allow yourself to have joy. And,
Sure. And so this notion that we live in privilege, and the answer to that is to hate our lives.
Yeah.
That's foolish. I don't mean hate our lives, but to not enjoy it, we should be trying to find the moments of joy. We should be trying to make good memories with our families. It's foolish for us to consistently be in a state of anger and fear, and you cannot exist there.
It's not healthy,
no,
right? You will not accomplish anything if you're just angry.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And you're no good to people when you're just angry.
Anger isn't action.
No, that's an excellent point.
Well, people think it is.
It's an emotion.
I think because there's so many issues, so we just think, if we're angry, that must mean we're doing something about it. But it's just an emotion.
Yeah. No, Absolutely.
Like if I'm happy, I'm not doing something about it. I'm just
that's right.
happy, you know?
That's right. But I would rather be around happy you than angry you.
Yeah, same. I'd rather be around happy me too. I don't like being angry.
No, and I mean, you're not.
Although there are moments.
You're not a pretty and very angry person.
There are moments, I think, where you have to just sort of like sit in the anger for a second and absorb it and then like go, okay, it's time to move on.
Yeah. I think that one of the struggles that for people is that they think that their anger is righteous or like it's noble.
Yeah.
And it's like recognize that your anger could possibly just be anger.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
And there are things that we should get angry about for sure, but like controlled.
But again,
Controlled
if you're
anger.
just angry and not doing anything about it, it's
like
nothing.
Racism makes me angry.
Yes.
But like I don't just go around yelling.
No.
At everybody.
No.
Right.
What instead you try to do is take action and learn and
love.
Become better.
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, that's really good. Good answers.
Thanks. What about you?
What?
What about you?
What about me? So I think I tend to think a little more
Broad?
macro. Broad. I'm a big, and what I'd like to see is like sort of maybe some change for a lot of us. Mm-hmm. And I think that it starts by looking inward.
Yeah.
I think that we have a world that is not wanting to look inward, because if we look inward, we might not like some of the stuff we see. So it's so much easier to blame outward.
Yeah.
And yell.
Yeah.
I think that if we look inward, that's where we will be able to deal with what needs to be dealt with so that we can get to kind of a place of peacefulness, inner peace, as it were. I think that after we do that, like we might not like what we find. Mm-hmm. And I didn't like what I found, and I often look inward and still don't like what I find, and that needs to be changed. But I think once we do start doing that more frequently, that we can then go and care for others properly. Mm-hmm. And that's what the world needs, is people caring for one another.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like,
absolutely.
we care about causes that affect us. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's not right. Like, I do care about freedom. Like, I don't not care about freedom.
Right.
But, like, I hope that I'd be a person who would give up my freedom so that you could have a better life. Uh-huh. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that once we could start really caring for one another, we would be able to exist in spaces where we not just tolerate, but hope. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, instead of yelling at people who think differently than me, even if they're deplorable.
Yeah.
Even if their thoughts are deplorable, would it not benefit for me to hope that they would, turn it around?
Right.
Right? Like, the world doesn't want that.
Yeah.
The world wants justice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which actually looks a lot like revenge.
Yes.
And I think that if we want an actual world where we're going to live peacefully, we need to be okay with deplorables being redeemed.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I don't think we're okay with that.
I think, there are going to be the people out there who aren't willing to change. Right? That's too bad.
I think that's an extremely low emotional intelligence
Yes.
of anybody doesn't look inward. I think that you're starting off, and if this sounds judgy, I'm sorry, but I just do. I think it's a very low emotional intelligence.
Yeah. So you've got those people. Okay, so there are people who want to change or are willing to look. And so then we, on the other side, need to say, yes, let me help you.
Yes, instead of, sorry.
Yeah, that's not my job.
Oh my goodness.
Like, do we want change in the world?
Exactly.
If we want change in the world, that means that we need to let the people who want to change change.
Yep.
And we need to help them do it.
And people need to realize that if they are saying, like, you're an awful person because you think this way, but if you want help, it's not my job to give it to you, you're actually a part of the problem.
Well, I agree.
No, you are.
Yeah.
Because you're not helping to change hearts and minds.
Well, it's like, okay, think about this on a parenting level, right? Your kid makes a mistake.
Yeah.
And you don't bother to tell them what the appropriate behavior would have been.
Exactly. Figure it out for yourself.
Yeah, like that's not how it works.
Right.
But for some reason, we think in society that's well, it's if you want to change, you're going to have to do that on your own.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate. And then we wonder why people can't change.
Yeah.
People can't change.
Well, because it's too hard, because nobody's willing to help.
Exactly.
Nobody's willing to work.
Yeah. I do have hope for people because I do see people come, like as
Yeah.
a pastor, I do see people come and actually change things
Yeah.
in their lives. So
Yeah.
if you're out there and you're like, people never change, that's wrong.
Yeah, they do.
They do change.
Absolutely.
Do they change quickly? No. Is it messy? Yes. But
And
you're messy.
Yeah.
I'm messy.
Yeah.
She's messy.
Exactly.
And the problem is when we won't go into the mess. Instead, all we do is yell at the mess.
Exactly.
Right? We need to go into the mess
Yeah.
and help do what we can to love inside the mess.
Exactly.
But like last, I just want to say that I think everybody needs to find a community.
Yeah.
Like every person needs a person. And I think everybody needs to think and understand that they're worthy of love.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So like mine's super macro, like you're like, here's how, and yours are way more helpful, for like,
I think both are good.
yeah. So this is how I see changing all the stress around this crumbling world. You take a bath. I try and, I don't know.
I watch funny videos on TikTok.
Which is brilliant. And actually, if more people watched the funny videos on TikTok, we would have a much happier world.
Right.
But no, I do think community is key. And if you think that you don't belong, there are tons of places I know that would say the opposite of that. And yeah, I just think that we need a world that understands that they're worthy of love
Yeah.
because they're human.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Like, it's not how you yell.
Right.
It's not how many followers you have.
Yeah.
It's not the comments section. It's not how beautiful you are. It's not your weight. It's
Yeah.
not whether you have gorgeous hair. It's you're a human and worthy of love.
Yeah.
Right? So
Absolutely.
there's this brilliant author I know, wrote a book,
He's pretty good.
right? And the tagline is, there's a you inside you, and they're lovable too.
It's true.
I heard he's devilishly handsome too.
Yeah, he's all right.
No. Just kidding. We can cut that part out.
Well, I think this was a good discussion.
So do I.
If you're listening and you're kind of in the place that we are, or in a totally different place,
Yeah.
it would be great to have this conversation with you.
Yeah.
Like, we would love to hear from you.
Comment section.
Yeah, like,
be good, be kind.
Find us on Instagram, find us on Facebook, send us an email. Everything is under Leading Real Life.
Yep.
Our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcast.
Wow.
You can find us on YouTube as well if you're more of a visual person. You'd rather
right.
not just listen. But honestly, I think that a lot of healing comes in discussion. And yeah, I think that's a good thing.
I think that a lot of healing does come in discussion.
Well, because to be honest, we didn't fix any problems here, but I feel a little bit better.
So do I. Even though our podcast was interrupted partway through, I still feel good.
Multiple times.
I feel good.
No, it just helps. So,
Yeah.
we'd love to hear from you. And yeah,
That is it. That is all.
stay safe out there.
Okay. What's the one from?
Stay safe in these streets, as Come Away would say.
Oh.
Now we'll find out if she
What
listened.
was Ron Burgundy?
I have no idea. Lainey, shh.
Isn't it like?
You gotta sit on the potty. Okay, it's time to go because the toddler has to sit on the potty.
Hopefully that can be the end.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Getting